Michael Jackson didn't just perform music, he turned his clothes into weapons of mystery. Every glove, every sock, every stitch had a purpose. But the real reasons behind his costumes? They're stranger, smarter, and deeper than you think. Today, we're exposing 8 secrets about Michael Jackson's outfits that even die-hard fans never knew. Number 8. Why he wore smaller clothes at the end of his shows. Michael Jackson's shows weren't just concerts, they were full-blown athletic events. By the end of a 2-hour performance, he could lose up to 5 pounds in water weight, and his waistline would literally shrink by an inch. That meant if he wore the same outfit the whole time, by the finale it would look baggy, sloppy, and completely ruin the image of perfection he demanded. So his team made sure each outfit he changed into was slightly smaller than the last. It wasn't for looks, it was for detail. His moves had to look sharp on camera and in front of 70,000 screaming fans. Loose fabric would swallow his motion, but a perfectly snug costume amplified every spin, kick, and freeze-frame pose. Even when his body was exhausted, his clothes made him look untouchable. And if that sounds extreme, just wait. Because Michael's obsession with detail didn't stop at his waistline. It went all the way down to his fingertips. Number 7. Why he wrapped tape around his fingers. Ever notice those strips of white tape on Michael's fingers? It wasn't random, it was a strategy. On stage, every tiny movement mattered, and Michael wanted fans in the back row to feel his gestures as powerfully as the ones in the front. By wrapping his fingers in white tape, the lights bounced off his hands, turning even the smallest flick or snap into a spotlight moment. But here's the twist. He didn't tape all his fingers. He usually left his middle finger and thumb bare. Why? Because it created a strange illusion. When he moved his hands, those 2 untaped fingers almost disappeared under the lights. Fans were left wondering, why only 3? Michael loved that mystery. He even admitted that when he danced, his 2 bare fingers would naturally press together, making it look deliberate, like he was sending some kind of secret signal. It was simple, but it worked. The tape didn't just highlight his movements, it gave them an almost supernatural aura. And while everyone stared at his hands, Michael had another trick, making sure you couldn't take your eyes off his feet. Number 6. Why he chose to wear white socks. White socks with black shoes might sound like a fashion mistake, but on Michael Jackson, it became genius. Under bright stage lights, the white socks reflected every beam, turning his feet into the star of the show. When he moonwalked, slid, or hit those razor-sharp spins, the glowing socks made every move impossible to miss. This wasn't about style, it was about control. Michael knew his footwork was legendary, so he made sure your eyes were locked on it. Black socks would have blended in. White socks made his feet pop like neon. Even in huge arenas with fans sitting hundreds of feet away, that flash of white made his dancing unforgettable.
I have a black dance floor, black shoes, black pants. If you can't see my feet or my legs or feet move, why am I doing this? Just do it on the radio. So that's where the white socks became, depending, the bigger the audience, the higher the pants came. So the guy in the last row has got to see me dance. So
Wow.
And this wasn't just theory. The proof is in how fans still treat them today. Just this week, a single white athletic sock Michael wore during the History World Tour in 1997 sold at a French auction for nearly $9,000. This wasn't some brand new designer item, it was a sock, discarded near his dressing room in Nîmes, France, later authenticated and described by the auctioneer as a cult object. Clips from that tour show him wearing identical rhinestone-encrusted socks during Billie Jean. Originally valued at about 4,000 euros, it ended up selling for double. That tells you everything. Michael elevated something as ordinary as a sock into an artifact. He made the smallest fashion choice so iconic that decades later people fight to own it. Number 5. Why he never polished his shoes. Shoe shine? Not for Michael. Once, his team asked the costume designer to give his dance shoes a polish. Michael was very angry. He insisted those shoes stay worn in. Polishing them would make them too slippery, risking his performance.
one thing where Frankie Leo came to me as manager and said, would you polish those shoes? So, I'm listening, I polish them. Michael goes, the next show, where's my dance shoes? And I go, here they are. And he goes, no, my dance shoes. And I went, he goes, what's on those? And I said, polish. And then I was explaining the way he worked his shoes. If I accidentally get shoe polish on the bottom of the sole of my shoe,
Very dangerous.
slip and fall, we're all unemployed now. So he just left the shoes alone. He said, do anything from my ankles up. I don't care, but do not touch my shoes.
The worn leather helped him grip the floor and control every move. It wasn't about style, it was about function. He knew that shine would kill his grip, so he made a bold choice. Leave the sparkle on stage, not under his feet. Number 4. Why most of his jackets had an armband. Almost every iconic Michael Jackson jacket carried one detail people still ask about: the armband stitched onto his right sleeve. It wasn't decoration, it was symbolism. Michael often used it as a reminder of the world's pain. He once said the armband was there to represent the suffering of children around the globe, a subtle but constant message woven into his style. It also added mystery. The placement, always on the right arm, was deliberate, making fans question its meaning. Some thought it was military-inspired, others thought it was a hidden code. Michael loved that people speculated, because it kept his costumes from being just clothing. They became statements. And if the armband made you curious, the next detail turned curiosity into pure legend. Number 3. Why he wore just one glove. The single white glove is probably the most iconic piece of clothing in music history. And like everything Michael did, it wasn't just style, it was strategy. Michael had vitiligo, a skin condition that caused his skin to lose pigment in patches. Early on, he began covering it up, and one of the most creative solutions was a glove. But why just one? Because 2 gloves looked ordinary. Michael wanted something unique, something no one else had. A single glove was strange, unexpected, unforgettable, and once he paired it with rhinestones, it became magic under stage lights. Actress Cicely Tyson later revealed that Michael told her the glove was originally to hide the first signs of his skin condition. But Michael, being Michael, turned what could have been insecurity into one of the boldest fashion statements in history. He once said wearing one glove was cool, wearing 2 seemed so ordinary. The glove wasn't just an accessory, it was a symbol. It represented how he took his struggles and turned them into art. Number 2. The secret behind his leaning shoes. Michael Jackson didn't just break records, he broke physics. When the world first saw him lean forward at a 45-degree angle in Smooth Criminal, jaws dropped. People thought it was camera trickery, but no. It was science and sheer strength. The secret was hidden in his shoes. Michael patented a special design with a V-shaped slot in the heel. On stage, a peg would rise from the floor, locking into that slot, anchoring him as he leaned. But here's the thing, shoes alone weren't enough. You could wear them right now and still fall flat on your face. The move demanded insane core strength, balance, and leg control. Michael had all 3. It was the perfect illusion, engineering plus artistry. And like everything else he wore, those shoes weren't just props, they were part of the performance. Just like the glove, just like the socks, they turned the impossible into reality. But Michael also had fun with his costumes. Not every detail was deep or serious. Sometimes he let chance decide his style. Number 1. What the letters CTE on his jackets really meant. Some fans thought it was a secret code. Others thought it stood for a hidden message only Michael knew. But the truth behind the letters CTE is almost laughably simple. In the 90s, when his costume designers were creating new shirts, Michael wanted some letters embroidered onto the epaulets, just to add intrigue. When asked which ones, he didn't care. So the designers put all the letters of the alphabet into a hat and randomly drew 3. The result? CTE. Michael loved it. He loved that people would overthink it, write theories, and search for deeper meaning. That was the magic. He knew fans would always be curious, always chasing the mystery, and he gave them just enough to keep the legend alive. Michael Jackson's costumes weren't just outfits. They were weapons of performance. Every detail, from a strip of tape on his fingers to an armband stitched on his jacket, had a purpose. Some choices were practical, like tighter clothes to match his shrinking frame during shows. Others were symbolic, like the armband for children or the single glove that turned his skin condition into legend. And some were pure fun, like 3 random letters pulled from a hat that fans still obsess over. In the end, Michael Jackson didn't just change how we hear music, he changed how we see it. And that's why his legacy will never fade.